how does a passionate character pulling out a corner flag license him to whip out his trousers in a bar?
Everything is whip out. Whip out the flag, whip out the trousers.
Why is he going to whip out anything? I don't. What am I missing here?
Don't do echo.
Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Yahoo Footballing Weekly with me, Yahoo columnist Neil Humphreys.
And me, Yahoo editor Chia Keong. And we welcome back Manchester City fan Haizam.
Yeah, hi, welcome back. Thank you for inviting me again. I think this is my third time, fourth.
You're certainly up there.
Yeah.
One of the record holders, I think.
Sitting with Daryl, I think.
Yeah, so there's a little competition between now.
I know, but love talking about football with you guys actually, and talking about So I think this is an honor every time we get invited.
And we are honoured to have you here.
Honoured. Honoured. All right, let's get stuck into it with an issue that has been the issue in English football.
Strange.
I'd love to know Haizam's thoughts on this. The BBC match of the day, you heard about this, versus Gary Lineker, or the British government versus English football. Depends what way you want to look at it. Okay, to give a recap briefly, Gary Lineker, for those who do not know, and you probably do, he's been the long-standing host of Match of the Day, the flagship football show in the UK for almost 20-odd years, almost 30 years. 30 years altogether, he's been there. He made a very seemingly innocuous comment on his own private social media feed saying that he felt that the British government's policy on migrants, on refugees, the so-called folks coming across on boats, was too harsh. And he said that language was being used that was reminiscent of 30s Germany. He never said the word Nazi. He never said the word Hitler. He said the language was reminiscent of 30s Germany. That was enough to get him suspended from the BBC, which was enough for everyone to go out on strike, including Ian Wright, Alan Shearer, everybody. The commentators,
hosts, everyone.
My father, in the UK, watched this. So on Match of the Day, they put out 15 minutes of content, no commentators, no theme tune, nothing. It's just the sound of the crowd.
Which is...
Yes, so Gary Lineker went very silent, the BBC went very silent, and then just before we went live, the BBC backed down. And they apologised to Gary Lineker. And now normal service will resume this weekend. What do you think?
When I heard about the news, I was like, what is this all about? So I had to kind of like go on Twitter, go on social media, then I read up, it's like because of one comment that was done on his own private
on Twitter.
And then BBC reacted in such a way that it's like, oh no, there's something like we should not be talking about. But then again, it's like we have other... I think I saw a post on Twitter that saying that Sir Alan Sugar said something that is worse than what Gary Lineker said, and he got a free pass.
Alan Sugar used to be the chairman, owner of Tottenham. He now presents the British version of The Apprentice, what Donald Trump did in America. And he has said things like vote Brexit, kick out the Labour government, purely political. Yes. And he's Mr. BBC.
Yeah.
What I'm just impressed by is the solidarity of the football fraternity.
Yes.
Immediately, Ian Wright saying, I'm not going to come down to as a pundit. Alan Shearer did the same, Jermaine Jenas. And then it spread, the commentators, Alex Scott, Women's Football, all said, no, I'm not doing. I don't think BBC could ever have expected that kind of reaction. And that caught them so off guard that they come out with a one-star version of Match of the Day, which is what the Guardian rated it. One star only. So I was like, whoa, this is pretty impressive. Everybody just did the same thing and just boycotted en masse on BBC. And then quickly they had to back down. There's no other way they could.
They could not agree more.
Yeah.
It's not often that we're proud of the beautiful game, but this was one of them because it was a real ugly side. There is, of course, a bigger issue here. This is the establishment, the elite, the one percenters are terrified of the power of football. Yeah. Generally, you could apply this across the world. Elites are terrified of sport. Why? They are terrified of Gary Lineker because he's bigger than them. He's more powerful than them. They don't know what to do with working class talent who become wealthy, who become part of the elite. Because the elite, what have they got? They've got privilege, they've got wealth. Gary Lineker has that. But he also has talent and he also has popularity.
Yeah.
They don't have those things. So when Gary Lineker says what he says, the establishment, the British government, the BBC, football authorities are terrified because he's now bigger than all of them. And they try to paint footballers as this big sort of working class, ignorant mass. And it's not true. Football is often, in Singapore, in the UK, is often the most multiracial, multicultural working environment. People like Gary Lineker have grown up around footballers of all races, ethnicities, languages. So there's not that racist element, there's not that xenophobic element, and they're trying to paint them as these ignorant bigots when they're the complete opposite.
And Lineker is like one of the most common sense, person with the most common sense every time he tweets. No, it's all very humanity-based kind of tweets. Which will be popular among so many people in England and even around the world.
I think the working class can relate, and people, especially because the thing is that it's something real is beyond football, and I think when what he said, it felt like a direct attack to the government's policy, on what they did with Brexit and what. And I think the Brexit issue has always been a huge elephant in the room. That when the country divided. So I think when Gary Lineker said that, and BBC reacted in such a way that it just strengthened the proof that they are the government's mouthpiece. And because of that and that backlash, with people, in solidarity, they understand that the power is back to the people, to the working class, rather
it's just
than
a big own goal.
Yeah, it's just
and that is why I couldn't agree more, Haizam. And that is why the elite in Britain and other countries are so terrified of football. Because for all its many, many faults, it does remain just about the people's game. Just about the people's game. And that's why during COVID, Marcus Rashford was attacked. That's why Jordan Henderson was attacked, along with all the other captains, when they got together and said, we need to raise money for the less fortunate in society, the nurses, the National Health Service. They were attacked by the elite, by the government.
Stick to football.
Yeah, stick to football, because they are terrified. If they bring their power and popularity and respect into the political world, the establishment world,
they will lose.
The establishment know they are finished.
Yes.
Because they have wealth and privilege. As I said, that's all they have. This side has wealth, privilege, talent, and popularity. And it's the popularity that terrifies them. They are much, much more powerful now. Working class people, thanks to football, are more powerful than politicians and businessmen. And that's what scares the crap out of them. And it's great.
So BBC, thanks for revealing all this to us.
you just showed your hand in where your allegiance stands, actually.
Exactly. Right, well, speaking of power, elite, privilege, let's talk about Manchester City.
Damn.
His privileged entitled.
Segue is just
nice segue.
Flawless segue.
So, but anyway, they're second. They're not top of the table yet, but they're chasing Arsenal. But it's like a role reversal this time. Every time the past few seasons, y'all will have. By March, you all will be in the
10 points,
top of the
15
table,
points, and then
Liverpool will be chasing like mad, and then you all will not lose, and then we all just 1 point behind.
And I love this
place.
conversation because I remember 2 seasons ago, people were saying that is Man City making the league, the EPL, the Farmers League. I love that narrative.
So y'all are now chasing it, chasing Arsenal.
You're doing us a favour now.
By chasing,
by being slightly rubbish, you're helping everybody.
The irony of it is like when people, when City last 2 seasons were doing so well, 2 points lead, and is it becoming Farmers League? Now it's like now back to normal schedule suddenly.
Well, on behalf of us paupers everywhere,
we thank you.
We thank you from the bottom of our hearts, Manchester City, for being slightly crap this year.
For being as compassionate as Gary Lineker.
So the league remains slightly competitive. I mean, Manchester City and Gary Lineker, there's nothing to choose between them, right? In terms of compassion
it's just a nice
and
segue.
empathy, we are so grateful that you've made the league competitive.
Okay.
So is that the reason for you being absolutely crap at the weekend against Palace, right?
Are y'all chasing properly or not?
There's the thing. It's like with City, as an old fan, I always believe, whenever I look at City struggling for games, it's always like, is it starting the typical City mood again? Like we are playing, terrible, but then again getting the 3 points. But then again, I think I spoke to a few of my friends. Is that to win, as long as you get the 3 points, doesn't matter what are the goals. If you play like crap and you get 3 points, it's the 3 points.
But will that keep happening? Because firstly, I thought a draw wouldn't have been a bad result. It was only a penalty and a slightly iffy one at that. Secondly, yes, you're still evolving into this Erling Haaland-led incarnation of what Manchester City are going to become. So yes, it is transitional. But what surprised me, Haizam, how boring they were. It was a really dull game to watch. And lest we forget, let's get it right, Crystal Palace hasn't won at home since October. So the chasm is pretty big. What's wrong with City at the moment? You can't say wrong, they're still second in the table, but what's not quite firing?
I think that's the mystery that even City fans can't comprehend. Even for me, if you were to ask me honestly, like games like this are the kinds where like we know that we do know that Crystal Palace has always been one of the boogie teams that City had for the past few seasons. So going to Selhurst Park, playing that way, it's still a good result, but not a good result
Not
to
a good performance,
most. A good performance, but it's still 3 points. But to explain the issue of like whether are we good without Haaland or are we good with Haaland, there's always that mystery that. For me as a City fan, I would love to be a wall, to fly on a wall when Pep does the team talk, because I know Pep wants to have that. We want a goal scorer, and I think my Napshot crew was saying like, we cannot replace Sergio Aguero. We cannot replace Sergio, and then you have Haaland, who is a beast as well. So I think that comes back to me. For me personally, it's always that Erling Haaland gives that plan B that City has been missing for the longest.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But then there's that debate of like catch-22 situation that City plays better without Haaland. But then we have Haaland.
But I also think, as we've said many, many times, he was signed for the Champions League.
Yes.
And if they win the Champions League with Haaland scoring a scrappy, 1-0 winner, they won't care. Nobody will care.
Because like I said, the start of season, I think Khaldun was saying that the goal this season is Champions League.
Of course.
Even Guardiola just recently
because Guardiola was saying, I think said in the press conference, it's like if we don't win the EPL, but we win the Champions League, no one will going to talk about it.
And Guardiola hasn't won the Champions League for more than 10 years now, right?
Yep.
Since Barcelona.
Since
Obviously
Barcelona.
2011, I think, around
2011,
there. So more than 10 years. I want to ask you this, and I have to say this right at the beginning. It's all alleged. Can your manager not control his players? I mean, have you heard about Kyle Walker?
I know when he's gonna when he brought it out, right? Like cannot control the
what the
players.
hell?
I know what Neil was gonna say.
We have to say alleged. This is one of the greatest fullbacks England has produced in the last 10 and 15
What the hell
years.
did he do?
What on earth makes him allegedly drop his trousers to a woman in a bar when there are cameras everywhere in the
Allegedly,
UK?
no.
Well, there are definitely cameras.
Allegedly, Kyle Walker was in a conference.
CCTV cameras everywhere in the UK. What on earth? And I saw Pep Guardiola try and fudge it slightly. But what's going on? You could end up losing one. Just to make it clear, right? And I've seen the footage, so even though we have to say alleged, it's in all the British newspapers. Kyle Walker is under caution for indecent exposure. This carries up to a 2-year jail term. What is wrong with that team? Why can't they behave themselves?
Prison FC needs a new fullback.
Oh my
You got
word.
Mendy already. Now you got
allegedly.
No, you must
Allegedly.
understand. Prison FC now. This is a running joke in Napshot Studios. Like because Greenwood is out of Prison FC, so they need a new player.
Is that what it is?
but then
But that's
jokes
not
aside,
like for like replacement by them.
But then jokes aside, I think it's not about controlling the players, because I think Kyle Walker as a character on his own. I remember there was one scene that I think the final game against Aston Villa, he actually ran from the bench all the way to the corner flag, and he celebrated with the fans by pulling out the corner flag. So I think that kind of character has always been outside of football. He has always been that weirded kind of like footballer.
We're trying to draw a line there.
It's all the more Guardiola should have tried to can you stop doing that?
I'm also trying to work out, okay, how does a passionate character pulling out a corner flag license him to whip out his trousers in a bar?
Everything is whip out. Whip out the flag, whip out the trousers.
Why is he going to whip out anything? I don't. What am I missing here?
Don't do echo.
Well, you could be without a fullback soon enough.
Good luck if there's a fullback injury crisis, then you lose one.
Allegedly. He's already got rid of one fullback. He got rid of Cancelo.
But he's going to come back because Bayern doesn't want to.
Bayern doesn't want him.
No, but here's the interesting part, because you see, I think the past few games, Pep is not playing with fullbacks.
Oh,
surprisingly,
wow.
it's like
He hasn't got any left.
Because he doesn't because he knows that he's I have Cancelo out, and now Kyle Walker.
Yeah.
So I think there might be reasons behind it.
Good luck if he overthinks and that does your Champions League matches in again.
But but I think there was reports also that because of that incident, even though the club is saying that because that happened out of during his off day, I think it affected the contract's negotiation.
Yeah,
So I think it was mentioned that the club is not opening up new contracts with him.
Okay, well, from one player allegedly dropping his trousers to a whole team being caught with their pants down. See what I did there? See how effortless that was? Hey?
Neil is on form today with all the
The team with their pants down, Liverpool. Now, let's back this up. When we was on this podcast last week, you're riding high. I mean, the man was on the ceiling.
Yeah,
wearing
I
the
don't
shirt.
wear my Liverpool
It was
jersey.
Keong this and Prata that, and got the 7-0. Nobody, and don't backtrack. I don't think none of us expected anything other than a Liverpool victory.
Fair enough.
Even I was like, yes, their form has been mercurial, but this is a team at the bottom of the table. This is a comfortable Liverpool win. What happened? Apart from the obvious, they lost.
Screwed up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, no excuses. I think it was a terrible outing. I mean, we have been terrible away. Liverpool have been terrible away all season, but this one has to rank as one of the worst. I think
it's arguably their worst performance of the season.
They're riding on that momentum, and you start off well, and then suddenly you lost your way, and then you consider a silly goal, another defensive lapse. And then you just couldn't make a way, and then there's a penalty miss, whatever. But you have plenty of time. They scored in maybe like a half hour, and then you have like 60 minutes to rescue it. They can't conjure anything. I mean, it's further proof that they desperately need a revamp of their midfield. I think attack they have the tools, but they need somebody to propel the midfield, which the midfield is just not.
But this is something that I would love to debate. I mean, back to differ. Like you see, coming from a 7-0 comprehensive win against one of the hated rivals, to go to that result, it comes back to the point that I mentioned that when you guys are riding high, you guys look beyond the lapses of the team that you guys have been complaining throughout all the seasons. And I think from a board perspective, FSG's perspective, like why do we need to strengthen the team when we can beat our most hated rival 7-0? And basically kill off that argument that we need to invest in our team. So I think it's that result 7-0 is actually you guys are the victim of that success because it comes back to the point that you guys lose and then you guys are saying that our midfield is blah 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 blah. But then again, from the board's perspective, I feel like they will look at it and like, but you guys beat Man United 7-0.
Free result. But still. But
so it's really going to be very difficult to justify. And I think like I say, I am not dissing the Liverpool fans especially because I know that some fans will say FSG out after every loss. But then again, there wasn't any FSG out when you guys beat United 7-0. So I think that Liverpool team needs right now is consistency.
The one thing that you said about the attack that surprised me, I'm sure you saw this. He took off Núñez, which was strange because I felt Núñez was fine. He was one of their better forwards.
I thought he would take out Gakpo, but
right, he takes off Núñez. Núñez is clearly not happy. He's gone off. You can see it. He didn't try to hide it. And it strengthened Bournemouth's hand. They seem to grow into the game. No disrespect to Firmino, but Firmino's in the past now. He's leaving at the end of the season. So why take off Núñez, arguably your most powerful, potent attacking asset? You could tell that the Bournemouth defence was struggling with him.
Yeah.
But once he went off, it became quite comfortable for Bournemouth. And I can't quite work out what Klopp's thinking.
The only reason I could think of is he's saving up for Real Madrid. But
for the big comeback.
For the big comeback. Yeah, right. well, he's probably doesn't want him to tire out or almost get injured after it's probably going to start for the next couple of games. So anyway, it was a bad day out all around. But I mean, I just want to say this. United fans are the best. Manchester United fans are the best.
I never thought I'd say that. I didn't say that.
I mean, they've been hiding in their caves for the past week. And then the moment the final whistle blew for the Bournemouth game, Liverpool lose 1-0. Immediately, my social media, every United fan comes out of their cave and you see, you beat us 7-0 and then you can't even beat Bournemouth.
He said it twice now. I just want to say to Manchester United fans, I do not conform to stereotype. I do not think you live in a cave. Okay? He said it twice.
As a Man City fan,
And
I would like to
some
reserve a
Man City
comment.
fans even say, why beat us 7-0 when you lose 1-0 to Bournemouth? I would take 7-0 anytime, any other consequence, okay? 7-0 against Man U is one of a kind scoreline which I'll take anytime. Okay? But we lost.
They've got a point though, right?
Yes, they have a point, but it's like saying why beat them? Of course, we will want to beat your.
I think this is
7-0.
a good point for fans who are watching the podcast to put in your comments in terms of
Yes,
like, you know,
yes.
like, if you feel like as a United
Yes.
fan, okay, as a Liverpool fan, would you prefer to have that 7-0
He's
and
good at it.
lose,
It's good,
and lose the game? You know, the subsequent game, or you have that consistency, like you beat United 2-0, but then you beat Bournemouth 2-0 and build that momentum. I feel that that's a good question.
A very
for
good
you.
question, and we'd like to ask a similar question to United fans, but apparently you all live in caves. So
No internet.
yeah, for those,
That's coming from Hankum.
for those of you Manchester United supporters who do not live in caves and have internet, what do you think? Would you rather beat your enemy 7-0 if it meant losing to the bottom team 1-0? Let us know all of your thoughts on Liverpool, Manchester United, Manchester City, and send them all to
Yahoo Southeast Asia on YouTube, Yahoo SG, Yahoo_MY on Twitter, and Yahoo SEA on TikTok.
You see, once they lose, he can't concentrate. When they win 7-0, he's bop, 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 bop. Brilliant. All right, that was fantastic. Thank you very much, Haizam, as ever.
Yeah, good man. I appreciate it. I mean, these are the questions that we need to ask the fans because you see, like, it's interesting because I had this conversation with a friend saying that the issue with Liverpool has always been that this season there's no consistency. Like, why do you go for big scoring results and then you lose to the arguably the bottom of the table team? Which
That's
is
Liverpool this season.
Enough with the first world problems and the philosophical would you rather. West Ham has one would you rather. Would you rather stay up or go down? They'd rather stay up. And that's all I want to hear. But do let us know what you think. In the meantime, thank you very much. We appreciate all of your comments that come in every week on
Thank you very
Instagram,
much.
TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. Keep them all coming and we will get to them on next week's episode. In the meantime, thank you very much.
See you in part 2.